Welcome back to Italian Politics Explain, and tonight I'm here with Fabio.
Hello,
For
everyone.
yeah, we are gonna do a very quick discussion tonight, covering two main topics only, and we are gonna start discussing, and I will give you a brief introduction about it. The very recent case, because I think it was or yesterday or 2 days ago, about some Russian spies in Italy and some Italians passing information uh, to the Russian spies. I will. This is quite interesting because it's not the first time. There was another case a few years ago. I don't remember the name of the I think it was a member of the Italian Secret Service.
He
The,
was called Walter Biot,
yes,
but I feel like no one really knew how to pronounce his
yeah,
surname because it
and
sounds like a French name.
exactly,
So
it
it
might
was
be.
Biot. You can say Biot, I
The,
guess.
he was selling information for 5,000 euros each time, um, and um, and he got recently I think 50 years in jail. Uh,
Sentence, yes.
the sentence was 50 years in jail after the trial. And this time, the interesting thing that this time was one the connection between the Russian spies and some people inside the Italian minister and the Italian Secret Service was a retired person, and the parcel, the payment was less. It was 4,000 euros every piece of information. So we went down from 5,000 last time for 4,000 this time. Every piece of information. What I found interesting about the case is that the justification behind this is uh, from these people is that they weren't selling big information. They weren't selling big secrets. Um, and we can say it's an interesting technique because you're not selling a 1 million euro secret. Okay? You are selling a 4,000, 5,000 euro secret information every time. So we can imagine they were little things. So you create a sort of relationship with the person inside the Italian institution or the people inside the institution that are selling the information. That they give you little things every time. And so everything is keeping sort of quiet. There is not a big scandal. It's not a 1 million euro secret. This is probably what is interesting to discuss, but also how Italy is easily affected by this. This is quite interesting. We discussed in the past about the Russian propaganda in the Italian news and in amongst Italian politicians. They're clearly Russian. The Italian politician and the Italian newspaper, for example, they support Russian clearly. And now we have, for the second time, an official investigation of people passing information to Russian spies. So uh, Italy is extremely vulnerable to this, I would say. And it's not even very hard because it's not expensive. For 4,000 euros is not very expensive. I don't know what you think, Fred, about it.
Oof, there are so many things to talk about here from a single news. I will start recalling what was the comment that that struck me the most last time when a similar news was released. You mentioned correctly before about Walter Bill. I think he was in the army, probably in the marine, a little higher up than these people at the center of this scandal this time. But the thing is that usually these kind of news are not released to the general public because I guess what goes around spies tend to be treated in different ways, and there is a different kind of modus operandi, and there's also the hope to turn a bad news into good news. So trying to play the people who's trying to play your people. But for 2 times in 5 years, we hear of this kind of news. There is clearly an issue here, an issue on quite a few levels. Yes, the money. All these people seems to be very receptive to corruption. They all probably they are the weakest link in their system. At least that's it is reasonable to think that Russia focus on these kind of people with big mortgages on their shoulders, maybe some vices, some dark secrets they can't be revealed, and so they offer them first. They ask for collaboration on small tasks that are usually paid not big money, but this is also a way for the Russian spies to create a bond with their praise, so that they are totally easy to be blackmailed. Because once you start selling secrets to your enemy can turn you down any moment and ruin your life, sending you to jail, probably for decades, and you have to do what they ask you. This time, 4,000 euros for task, for secret, is actually even less than what sounds, because 4,000 euros is the amount the Russians gave the main person, the person they had a contact with, but this person had to split the money with his own circle of informants within the Secret Service, the Italian Secret Service, and the army. Those are the 2 main bodies of government that seem to have been cracked. And so probably those 4,000 euros had to be shared among 3 or 2 people, which comes down to probably being corrupt, selling national and international secrets for 1,000 or a bit more, which is extremely sad.
Or less.
Or less, even, yep. And what these people said to the Russians that have been intercepted is that it was not easy to get more information. You just needed to pay more, to pay for people, to find the people and pay, because in their words, the environment they were working in previously, because this person is retired, so the environment in the Secret Service is fairly corrupted. And so you just need to approach and propose for money. Now, Italy seems to be the soft underbelly of NATO, or to be amongst the countries that are the soft underbelly. These people sought informations from about NATO frameworks, and also I read so the information. This is potentially even more serious and said to me about counter-espionage projects against Russia. So they were selling Italians spies in Russia for small money. This is not new. I heard the reaction from the government was firm in words. Let's see if this then gets translated in reset of the structure, or at least a cleanup. Do you have much hope about that, Mattia? Do you think that is something that is foreseeable at the moment?
No. I believe that we will see next year. The election is. I mean, for now, yeah, there will be a trial. These people they will probably be put in jail for decades, like this person before. I believe that the next election next year, they're gonna be fundamental. We will have some parties next year, like Vanacci we talked before. We might have a party from Di Battista and another. I mean, for me, election agent.
Sorry, Mattia. Now let's try to put our feet in the shoes of a possible listener of ours. Who is Di Battista?
I already said that for me, he's a Russian agent, but if you
What's his story?
the story, I mean, we could have an episode about Di Battista because he's probably one of the most interesting person in the Italian politics in the last 20-30 years. I'm not joking. I mean, maybe we will do an episode. There is a podcast about it that is called the Virus, Il Virus in Italian, where they talk about the history of the Fast Time movement, the party where Di Battista was before leaving it. And yeah, the history of Alessandro Di Battista is mentioned, and it's quite interesting. To give a brief introduction, like many other 5 stars politicians, Battista presented himself as someone from the people, against the corrupted politician back then, coming from the bottom, coming from the average citizen, an average citizen, like we can call it. However, Casaleggio Society, that back then was the company behind the Five Star Movement, controlling actually the Five Star Movement.
Because controlling the network.
The network,
the physical online network.
That was behind this theory of the direct democracy and the Beppe Grillo blog. There was the blog behind the Five Star Movement, was controlled by this company of Gianroberto Casaleggio.
Yeah, it was a dystopia about third millennium democracy being fundamentally online.
This company, before, at some point, decided to be also a publisher, an editor of books. But of course, it wasn't the business of the company. It wasn't the main business of the company. But what is very interesting that Di Battista published a book back then. So this guy that was presented like an average citizen, come elected in this blog, in this network of the Five Star Movement, managed by this company of Casaleggio Associati, in reality was already well known to Casaleggio Associati. So known that they published a book for him, and he was no one back then. So Di Battista was not an average citizen, was a man of Casaleggio, placed inside the Five Star Movement, even though the story they was told to people was, oh no, he's a normal citizen like you. This is the where it begins the story of Di Battista, and probably begins even before we could talk about his father, for example, but that I mean,
Yeah, there is
again,
plenty of funny jokes.
we could go way beyond, but this is where it starts. So
And this also looks like a spy story
yeah,
because I've always wondered how uh, espionage bodies find the young future spies
yeah,
amongst, in a pool of thousands of people. How do you spot the one with the right characteristics?
yeah. It sounds even
And
like
this looks like a long undercover
you know,
project.
it sounds like a Mossad agent story. I mean, maybe this example is a bit strong, but Mossad agent, they are civilians. They're not. It's not a military. It is quite particular of the Mossad that usually the agents, they are civilians. They are not part of the army officially. This is why with this is what makes Mossad particularly effective and dangerous, if you like to say. And Batista, there is some similarity there, no? Like sort of infiltrated inside the party by the association, controlling the party in the shadow. So the story is gray since the beginning. Let's say that.
Okay, we have two episodes in here. This one and one about Vanacci, how he became a TV personality, how he sold 20,000
Yeah.
books from nowhere, middle of
This is
August
the other
on
story
Amazon.
we discussed last time. So it's quite interesting that all these politicians or public people in Italy, public personality in Italy, that they will decide next year again the how the Italian government will behave against Russia, against Russia spies, like in this case, or any other Russian activity in the West and in Italy. It
But do you
will,
think that whoever goes to the government will be able to reform our secret services? Because Meloni had a pretty strong opinion on what it should have been done, and she tried to, but I don't think she she went all the way down the path she wanted with reforming the
yeah,
Secret Service.
yeah, we have to remember that now we have still Matteo Salvini in the government. La Lega, the League of Matteo Salvini, which is the Russian entity inside the government. And probably the idea of Russians is to increase the share they have inside the Italian parliament and in a possible government. And through Vannacci, through a possible party of Di Battista, through Giuseppe Conte and the leftover of the Festa movement, they will guarantee themselves a shares in any possible government it will be formed. Left, right, it doesn't matter. Basically, the so-called center, it will be the only part of the Italian parliament immune from any sort of Russian infiltration after the election next year. But we know Italians are not moderate, they are all very left or very right. So probably the center is going to reach 10%, 15%, no more than that, to be optimistic.
Very optimistic.
Very optimistic, yeah. But so this is what is gonna, and then we will see where we're gonna go. But the election next year, they're gonna be all many of the topics that we discuss in all these episodes. We will sort of find out the truth after the election next year. I would say.
Yeah. What really fascinates me is that we have had a series of similar scandals like these ones. But yeah, no reform was really taken. Do you remember when it turned out that the database to access sensible data in the headquarters of of the Secret Service was used by random people to just create their own database of personal information about like everyone who could be or become in a position of power, and to then blackmail them. I can recall at least two scandals involving former army people, former secret service, former spies. So it is really sad that this structure can't be reformed, but it is not really surprising given the history of Italian civil service and given that we find so hard to reform any other aspect of our state. So, with this positive note, maybe we should swing to the next topic if you don't want to add anything else on
No,
the spy Russiagate.
no, I think that about what you just said, the overall lack of accountability in Italy is always an issue, and I think this is just another example. But moving to the next topic, we want to discuss about the current heat wave in Europe and how this is related to energy in Italy especially, but in general in Europe, energy production and let's say also consumption, but we will focus mainly on production now briefly, and talking about nuclear energy specifically. So the reason we want to touch this topic is because the government, and I will let Fabio maybe if he wants to discuss more about this, is moving forward with the return of nuclear energy in Italy, which is still complicated. So we have to like not be exceedingly optimistic about it. Let me say that. But the government is doing little steps forward. Let's say that. Of course, there are people against, also some famous people, or how you say, or people that they can have a strong opinion about because of their
Opinion makers.
I mean, not simply opinion makers, but people that they have like a sort of big CV,
Prejudice.
big CVs. We can think about the Nobel Prize in Physics Parisi that he advocates against nuclear. So we don't have simple opinion makers that they are speaking up against nuclear. That would be a little problem, I would say. I think we discussed in the past about this, and the mention of Parisi is quite interesting because he's still quite intellectually honest about it, because what he's saying is we use renewables, and the left that we cannot make with renewables, we use gas. Okay? Which is a big part of the people against nuclear. They don't admit that. They will tell you the fairy tale of we go 100% renewables, which is not possible. It's not possible having 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 100% renewable. It doesn't exist. For a series of reasons, like industrially, there are some industry that need heat, for example. They simply don't need electricity, they need heat, and this requires.
And also, half of the day is the night, and there is no sun at night, and electric energy is much harder to be stored at the moment.
Italy is not a country with wind. The only wind we have is offshore and in some areas. Wind turbines are also strongly opposed by the public in many areas because they ruin the environment and the landscapes and the views. Another stuff interesting to say that is related to the heat waves at the moment, that the solar panels, they drop in efficiency above certain temperatures. So they don't operate very well when the weather is extremely hot. Okay, I'm not gonna give technical information now, but I might put something in the description if you want to read more about it, why that happened. But the thing is that it's quite interesting how many people against nuclear, they still admit, those that are honest at least, that we will need to rely on fossil fuels to cover, I don't know, 10-20% of the energy left. This is the interesting point, I would say. I don't know, Fabio, what you think.
Yeah, you're completely right on the technicalities. There is a quota of the market that is variable and needs to be covered with, let's call it a filler. Gas is actually a great filler, but we don't extract gas, and it's expensive because the whole world wants gas. So we need to import it through huge boats where it is stored in a liquid shape, then gasified, then sent to these industrial plants throughout the country to be then burned. Gas, it is a little bit. I was about to say I love gas, but it is very controversial to say because gas it pollutes. It pollutes far less than oil, than carbon, than coal, but it still pollutes a lot. And this is the main argument for the thesis of Arturo, I think, Parisi, former Nobel Prize for Physics.
Giorgio.
You're right. That nuclear, on the other hand, it is a technology that is 100% or 90 something percent decarbonized because it doesn't produce any carbon surely not as a result of the energy making process. Yes, you need to build an infrastructure, and that is always produces some carbon emissions for sure, but that happens for every kind of infrastructure. And at least you could be more in charge of that share of energy, because despite us as Italy, we don't extract uranium, which is at the base of the nuclear energy production. There is decent number of countries in the world who extract that, one of which is Australia, that has plenty. There is a democracy, and that is a stable and trustworthy alliance of ours, unlike Russia that produces most of the uranium. So it is unlikely that we'll ever run short of uranium. We need very small amount of it. But yeah, nuclear energy as a technology is not immune to criticism. It is quite a big gamble to start building new plants at the stage, in my opinion, for similar reason to for the amount of unknowns that global warming forces us to face. For example, water. In France, they had to reduce the production of energy from nuclear reactors because water was either scarce in this period during the heat wave or too hot. These are serious problems because we know that nuclear plants can work anytime. They're very constant. They could, but they need water to cool down.
If I can intervene here, there are new generation of reactors that they don't use water, but they rely on molten salt, for example.
Molten lead.
Molten lead, yeah. There is also molten lead one, molten salt cooling system. So the water issue is I would say is not fundamental. Like
Yeah.
the France nuclear energy overall system is quite old. There is only one reactor in Flamanville that is a newer generation reactor. All the rest are 60s, 70s, maximum 80s generation reactors, so quite old, and so they all go with water. Uh, and also, I think the new inflammable, I'm not sure, but it's a water reactor anyway, even if it's newer. So the main thing that Europe is sort of way behind technologically at the moment in terms of nuclear reactor compared to other countries in the world where the technology was never abandoned, and so um, the progress, I mean, is keep going. I would say no. If you think about China, if you think about South Korea, Russia, Russia itself is never stopped to invest in it. Despite the fact that they have gas, this is quite interesting.
And oil. But
Is
to
I mean,
back to
Russia is a gas station dressed up like a country. This is a famous sentence, but still they are investing in nuclear energy. This is tells you something, you know. So yeah, that's probably my.
But that was just to say that there are some unknowns in associated with nuclear energy because there are some great new generation systems that, to my knowledge, they haven't been fully tested yet. I'm talking about a small reactor SMR, I think they're called
Small modular
small
reactor, yeah.
modular reactor.
Small modular reactor.
Very cool idea that can be built in plants and then just assembled on site. And they're very small and they produce way less waste. But when you go talking to people, it is hard to pin down a technology that at this stage is completely immune from doubts or criticism.
Yeah,
That is also it doesn't it happens for every kind of technology we saw because even solar panels don't work properly
but
during 40 degrees times.
the public opinion is the main issue here. Okay, with with a disclaimer compared to other technology that the investment that you need and the amount of time that you need, so the investment in terms of money, in terms of time, to build and start operating a nuclear reactor is quite long, which means that this is increases to the maximum, I would say, skyrockets the risk of the public opinion being against, and also the policymakers changing the law and creating delays and delays and delays. And many delays in the build of Flamanville in France, for example, there was delayed several years. They were due to the fact that the law they were changing. And so you sort of need to delay the project, to fix the project, to adapt it to the new law, legislation, etc. Okay? When it happens to a wind turbine, the delay that you can have is minimal because you just need to buy the turbine, install it, and that's it. It's fast, the process. And even a delay cancellation, the time that you can lose and the money that you can lose in that is minimal if you compare it to a nuclear reactor. So if there is some protest because they don't want in Puglia some wind turbine, the money that you lose and the time that you lose in that is way less than what you would lose with the investment required for a nuclear reactor. Which means that the public opinion on this kind of matter is extremely high compared to the investment in, I don't know, a park of nuclear turbine offshore in Sicily, which it would be opposed anyways, but it's less risky in terms of time and money if this opposition arrives. And it's quite interesting because we could expand this discussion and see why in Italy we haven't had any new real big infrastructure in the last decades, I would say. Okay, you can be against a big investment in an infrastructure like just to mention one, the bridge on the Messina Strait, just to mention one. Okay, you can be against that. It's not that you have to be in favor, obligated to be in favor. However, it is interesting in Italy because when you need a big investment in terms of money and time, okay, the politicians are not brave enough because they are afraid of a public opinion that they know they will be against partially at least. So I see the same path with the nuclear the nuclear energy. You would need some quite brave politician to really push on that because you're
Not
risking a lot.
just
Yeah.
a single or a bunch of them, but a stream of them, like a party or a few parties that convincingly carry on the this fight, this issue for years and years, despite of any possible negative consequence in the polls. The fun fact is that Italy had a historically pretty good and internationally recognized school of nuclear energy teaching and researching. Partially at the university level is still active. Company-wise, we have one big one that is called Ansaldo and is looking after the waste material that is still in the country and is just investing and working in other countries, foreign countries.
About waste material, because I don't want here to give fake information. The waste material doesn't come from nuclear reactors only. Even hospitals generate radioactive waste material. So a deposit for nuclear waste or radioactive waste, as you want to call it, is necessary in every country that even has just I don't know, healthcare system, a basic healthcare system, because you have X-ray, you have so X-ray sources, you have nuclear resonance, the famous, in Italy it's not called nuclear magnetic resonance, but call only magnetic resonance because otherwise people wouldn't do it. But the real name is nuclear magnetic resonance. So the deposit for nuclear waste is needed regardless having nuclear energy or not. It doesn't matter. You need to have it anyways. So this is important to underline. Okay.
Mattia is so heated because this is a lifelong issue in Italian politics. No council wants to host deposits. So we are still with a few temporary deposits, and no one wants to wants to welcome on their
Land, yeah. On the land, yeah.
on the land, the one of the future
Deposit, yeah.
stock. Yeah. But this is, I'm from Tuscany. There is a very positive example from the countryside of Tuscany. Basically, one mayor, decided to either accept or expand waste landfill in his town with a plan, not just accepting the rubbish from the others and be the stinky one amongst the beautiful Tuscan countryside, but getting all the crap to get the money for the compensation and build something for the town. So now he made land around the landfill, a landscaped place where cultural events are take places. Artists have residencies around there and expose their artworks, and he built a few cool places in the town that now hosts events, cultural events. Like I remember the yearly festival from Il Post, one of the coolest journalistic happenings in Italy from the last 10, 15 years takes place there, and they just put this little town on the map, and they're doing cool things for the community with the money coming from the crap. A similar thing could happen for the nuclear waste, because these places, these warehouses, they're probably built in underground direction, no? They are so safe, they have to be so safe to be built and accepted, that you can still claim the compensation for that, because clearly something they have has a negative externality, even just being perceived as that. And yeah, they could invest the money for some cool infrastructure project. If any major mayor is listening to us, this is a free idea we're happy to share. Going back to the, sorry for my cough, to the political side, I don't think nothing's gonna happen at the moment. The government, passed this. Sorry, this cough is killing me. So the government passed this nuclear sustainable energy framework, but it's clear that it doesn't want to invest too much political capital on that. It's fully aware that public opinion wouldn't back it up. Not even the parties within the majority. We know Lega is being a demagogic party, is hostile to nuclear energy. So maybe they could take this as an excuse to make the government fall, for example. Who knows? And yeah, Meloni in general is not interested in doing some big political investment. That will be definitely negative in terms of polls at the end of her government.
I think what I think like to conclude on this thing is that they are trying to sort of investigate the public opinion with these early moves, but because they have more than ever in the recent history of Italy, at least, they have the feeling that they could win the next elections. Okay, which is quite unlikely usually in Italy. Usually when you're in power, then you lose the next election. In this case, Meloni, she believes, and she's probably right, that she has good chances to stay in power next year. And so she can dare to do something like this. And probably they will push more if they will stay in power next time, in the next 5 years, then they will push more because they will have a second mandate. And that is gonna give you the sort of, I don't know, they will have they will be, I don't know, say they will feel safe to dare to push more on the nuclear side. Without having this feeling of we have very high chances to win again and stay in power, they wouldn't dare to even to mention it. They need to have this to dare to do not simply nuclear, but anything that can create conflicts, that can make you lose votes in Italy is not. No one will ever dare to do it, unless they have the feeling that yeah we can, regardless this we can stay in power, because it's always a game of we need to stay in power, we need to gain votes. I will do nothing that can jeopardize my votes. I don't know how to say. So
yeah, short-termism
yeah,
is
100%,
the way to go
100%,
for the average Italian political party.
100%.
Yeah. Do we want to wrap this up with a positive note? I would say let's build more renewables. Let's make easy to build more renewables. Lots of the landscape assessments are crap and totally unnecessary. We need more wind power, we need more solar energy, we need more batteries, but we also need a reliable energy mix, for which we might need in the future to have nuclear power again. Well, this was it from us, from Italian Politics Explained this week. It was a pleasure to share our ideas with you. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, the bell, and comment our videos. Let us know what you think about what you said. Um, if there's something that is unclear, we can specify that. And if you're from abroad and you would like us to talk about something that is really important for you, please let us know and we'll do our best.
And thank you very much, and see you next week. I hope. I would say.
See you
Okay.
soon.
See you soon. Bye.